How y'all doing today? Another day, another issues to worry about when it comes to the Trump man, the orange man doing shenanigans. Because if he shenan once, he's gonna shenan again. And somehow, from the people that voted for him the first time, I guess they was cool with the way he was shenaning. And I feel like they thought they was gonna profit and be able to benefit and be rewarded the second time he shenaned again. But what we see is that the more that mainstream America commodifies white. No, the more mainstream America commodifies African American vernacular English, the more they find themselves in positions where it's like, oh, you thought fat mean greasy. Because, the more you fuck around, the more you find out. We've seen a lot of conservatives and, unfortunately, a lot of us minorities is getting into that. With that being said, um, we always talk about how politics matter the most on a local level. We always talk about how individuals that ascribe to handle the levies of power, the levies of power. If they try to do that, they should be able to have their feet held to the fire. This is actually somebody I had a good opportunity of kicking it with this weekend. Without further ado, I got Salaam Bhatti. You feel me? This is how you say it, Baruti.
Listen, you can add whatever you want in there, George. Just is Salam.
Nah, not your name. What's the language? What's the language I learned about? What you just?
Oh yeah, Urdu.
Urdu.
Yeah.
Urdu. Yeah, man. Shout out to you. Shout out to everybody that speak Urdu. All my Pakistani people. You know what I'm saying? I really been learning a lot about culture. And I feel like right now, at a moment where our country's in, we got to embrace the multiplicities of culture and embrace learning about each other, especially because I feel like that difference is being weaponized against us and it's being demonized. But I'm gonna let you get your own, you feel me, introduction, your own, tell the people who you are, man.
Hey, well, thanks so much, Conscious, and yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you in the flesh, and it's always great meeting people digitally in real life, because then you can actually see how tall they are. And George is like 6'7", so 6'7". Oh God, I'm so sorry. But hey, everybody, my name is Salaam Bhatti. I'm a public interest lawyer, and I am running for Congress in Virginia. And this is a really exciting time because the district I'm running in is targeted for flipping from red to blue. And in fact, it actually did flip in November of 2025. We have this weird off-year election for the governor and a bunch of other folks. And the district actually flipped blue for the first time. So this is great. This is the time. And what we've been telling people is, yes, the House will flip blue in November, but what kind of blue? We're all, millennials and Gen Z are hip to the trend of there's different types of Democrats. And the party will push a certain flavor of that Democrat is typically bland, right? They get the little cranberries and their raisins in their potato salad. Well, what we do is we're offering flavor. We're offering things like taxing the billionaires their fair share, Medicare for all, and getting big money and foreign interests out of politics, getting that campaign finance reform, things that America can be if we don't have these billionaire class, this donor class controlling the candidates. So what's great is that this is a time where there's so many candidates just like me running around the country. And probably if you're watching there's a primary going on near you, there's a candidate just like me that needs your support. So that's what we want to talk about today. Not just about me, but about we and how we can all really make sure that these primaries go well in the correct direction so that America can truly move forward and not try to go back to some sort of status quo pre-Trump.
Yeah, and shout out to you, CP&D. Thank you always tuning in. Feel free to give your questions, whatever you got. Shout out to everybody on Substack that's tuned in right now. Feel free to subscribe right now. You watching? Really jumping right into it, man. What is the difference between what you standing for and classes like this? I set the question up actually. Like you said, we know that there is a lot of distinctions between different flavors and Texas Democrats. We all agree with that. And we all know that there are different tenets, ideology, stances that the establishment Democrats would stand for and some that they will not. My question to you is, what is the difference between how you are positioned in the Democratic Party and the way that people criticize how the Democratic Party is positioned? What is the difference between those two things? How are you not linked in different ways in terms of how we criticize establishment Democrat politics?
Right. So I'm not corporate PAC funded. I'm not APAC funded. My trust goes to the people. I'm serving the people. It's a public service. And too often we have Democrats and Republicans who are funded by corporations and by APAC. And this is dangerous because what we've seen, studies and research shows that policies that are popular with the people never make it to the floor of Congress. But policies that are popular with corporations and billionaires and foreign interests, oh, they get fully funded and everything that they want. So this is why it's a very dangerous thing that we have when it comes to the way our campaigns are financed. Like my three priorities for our campaign aren't fixing symptoms. I'm not here to cure symptoms. I'm here to go straight to the root cause. And we're seeing this example coming out of New York City, where Zohran Mamdani is being heralded as somebody who's turning off the orphan crushing machine. Now, it's not that we need to better grease the orphan crushing machine. It's not that we need new gears in the orphan crushing machine. It's just turn it off. Poverty is that orphan crushing machine on a national level. We don't need poverty. And poverty is a man-made creation. We can truly solve for it. And with the policy platform that we have and progressive candidates have across the country, we can truly cut that Gordian knot in half.
Man, so what have the past experiences that you've been in that make you feel like you're right for this job?
Yeah.
A lot of times right now we talk about people being qualified, being unqualified. We talk about what experiences or what knowledge or what skills do people have in order to be in Congress, because you can agree that we got a lot of dumbasses that's sitting in that position. So, I've met you, what I mean? I've had the opportunity to have conversations with you, but my audience haven't. So what make you qualified for this position, Salaam?
Yeah, I used to work at the Virginia Poverty Law Center. And while I was at the law center, I was working as essentially a lobbyist, but not the lobbyist you might have in your head. But I was a lobbyist for working families. I was a lobbyist for poor people. And what we would do is we would help draft legislation that went before the state assembly. And every state has a state legislature or a state Congress. And we would draft bills for that and lead coalitions of public and private groups and individuals and push the legislation through the state assembly and then get it signed by the governor. And the real legacy I left behind in Virginia, I mean, I'm still alive, but I'm no longer at VPLC. The real legacy I left is that I am the only advocate in the country who united Democrats and Republicans to unanimously vote to expand a welfare program. You don't do that just waking up one day deciding to do it. It's a big feat. So we were able to expand SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, for over 25,000 families in Virginia with a unanimous vote. And, the way we were able to do that is no secret. I love talking about this so that other advocates can get the same idea, because unfortunately, the way campaign finance works is that it's something I had to utilize. So what I did was I looked at where the bill would originate. So there's committees and then there's subcommittees. So bills will originate in a subcommittee, and there's maybe half a dozen or so folks who really determine the fate of the future of the state. And so what I did was I looked at those 6 or 7 folks and I said, who are the funders? Who are their donors on a corporate level? Because that's all public. You can see that. And so I brought those people, those corporations, into our coalition. There's grocery stores, there's a bank, there's a health insurance company. And when the Republicans and some of the Democrats saw that their donors were in the coalition, then they started paying attention. And that's how we were able to get the ball moving to get SNAP expanded.
Okay. I think that is something that at a time in our country right now, a lot of politicians and policymakers can learn from. But the skeptic in me still feel like there can be ways that sentiment or those type of victories become a way to fold into centrist politics, or becomes a way to capitulate to people across the aisle, because it could be a bipartisan win. So for people like me that's concerned, hold on now, that's smooth, but where is the boundaries that you navigating in terms of where you think it's smart to engage in bipartisan wins? Because obviously it's a win for all poor people and for poor people to be able to get more access to resources, and you know what I'm saying. But I feel like right now, they're without making any names, there are certain elected Democrats that believe it is a bipartisan win to do things like agree on funding ICE or agree on, you know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to see
Yep.
How far are
I
you
got
going
you.
with this, Salam?
I got you. Yeah. So one thing is I love to say is I didn't compromise on how many families were getting added to this. I didn't compromise on anything on the back. And so I'm really happy about that. It wasn't a centrist thing. And I feel that. I understand where you're coming from. I feel the same way. And here's where I had my learning moment. I was fighting against that big, beautiful bill on a national level last
Mm,
year. And so when we saw that SNAP was going to get cut by billions of dollars, I was like, oh, well, I've gone through this before. Let me just get the corporations back into play. Let me get the grocery stores, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll be able to push back against the Republicans and we'll win. So here's where the record scratch freeze frame happened. I reached out to the corporations. They didn't want to do nothing with our coalition. The reason being, I learned, is because they feared retribution from the Trump administration. And they lost billions and now they're losing even more because Trump knows no loyalty. So that was really a wake up call for me. I'm like, you know what? Bump you. We don't need you. We're going to do this all ourselves. So that's why, I mean, I never wanted corporate funding in our campaigns. That's another reason why I'm not taking corporate money. And there's so many candidates like me who aren't taking that corporate handout either. And so when we have a block of candidates elected like me in Congress who are not beholden to corporations, then we're not beholden to centrism. We're not
yeah,
beholden to doing things like, oh, we have to compromise and get this done bipartisan, because there will be a mandate for us to get these things done. The House isn't just going to flip blue. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a bloodbath. And then should Democrats be able to really exemplify that vision moving into 2028, then we'll flip the Senate and the executive as well. And then hopefully, we'll find out what happens. But it really all depends on what's going on with these primaries. If everybody comes out, let's get out the vote for candidates that are progressive, candidates that are running on the right values to be public servants, then we'll have a much better November. But if we get the centrist candidates through, then we're in for
yeah.
rinse repeat.
And right now, are we talking about the midterms? Can you give me some numbers on the voter turnout for the district you running for specifically, and then maybe some Virginia ones? I know that I've
Yeah.
been paying more attention to numbers, and I think that a lot of people don't realize how low participation
Mhm.
is during these times, and how when it comes to Donald Trump being able to do a lot of the little fuck shit he do, or when it comes to a lot of the bills that we have in terms of funding, we know that that has to go through the Senate and they got to go through the House. You know what I'm saying? And we
Mhm.
know that typically these type of elections is the ones that we're not really invested in. So if you can just give us some numbers, so I feel like, and when you're giving us these numbers, y'all think about how this applies to your particular state that you in and the district you in.
Yeah, so voter turnout is so low in the midterms, but even lower in the primary. A lot of people don't even know about primaries. The way I liken it is your primary is like your semifinals, your general is your finals. The semifinals is when you are choosing who your contender will be in the general. In our midterm primaries, we have about 20 or so thousand people who come out to vote, and in the general it's about 200,000, so massive difference, right? So that's the thing, a lot of times you'll only see get out the vote initiatives happening when it's
Thank you,
coming time
Clarence.
for the general. But once the primaries come in, the party's not doing anything. The party just wants their centrist candidate who will have the name recognition to be able to take it in the past. But I think millennials and Gen Z are hip to the trend now and getting a little bit more smarter and wiser to know that we can have a better candidate for the general and win.
Yeah, I think that in the past, I've lost sight that being a part of the primary process is how we pick the candidate that we don't feel like is handpicked by corporations or political PACs, and how we're able to push candidates into saying what we want them to say and or being in the positions we want them to be in. With that being said, does Palestine have the right to exist?
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah, I'm not taking
Okay.
any APAC funding. I've been endorsed by Track APAC as well for my commitment to that.
Okay. So when it comes to being in Congress and having to vote for bills specifically, that have funding towards, Israel funds, may it be defensive, may it be offensive, in what ways you being, Virginia Congress, how will you stand in terms of pushing back against that?
Mm. Yeah, I wouldn't fund for any more weapons being sent to Israel. As an ally, that shouldn't give them carte blanche to do anything. if anything, the alliance should be that America can restrain their hand and, come correct. They need to realize that and recognize that what they're doing is committing a genocide. They know what they're doing and they know why they're doing it. They want that land. They want to create casinos or whatever it is. But so long as America has that alliance with Israel, we need to be able to restrain them from what they're doing. I understand that America has a part to play in that too. And so with elected officials like me in Congress, we can give Palestinians that, give them a seat at the table so that they are able to advocate for themselves. I don't want to be like Team America World Police, where we kind of just like, we say and we do, but I really want to get the players at the table.
Okay. All right. Right now there's a big race going on in Texas. Senator race between Jasmine Crockett and James Tyler Rico. And one of the issues that have come to the forefront is healthcare. Affordable healthcare versus universal healthcare. Before you give us, your stance on it, as a Congress candidate, can you educate the audience a little bit on the difference between affordable healthcare and universal healthcare, and then where you and your campaign kind of standing on that. We homies, but I gotta, I gotta ask some pressing questions. You know what I'm saying?
No, please. This is good. I love it. So what we have right now is healthcare, right? We have affordable care. Well, we used to, it's still the wound is still a little raw. But the Affordable Care Act is something that we had until about last year. And what we got through that was subsidies. You would have to pay about 9% of your income before those subsidies kicked in. And what this meant is health insurance companies were getting a monthly cut every single month. Now, what health insurance companies are, they're not for patients, they're for their shareholders. And as a for-profit entity, your whole goal is to create value for the shareholders, not for the patients. So the value that they create for their shareholders is profit. And every year they'll have to increase the costs so that they can increase their profits, right? So every year the health insurance costs go up, which means every year they get more of a subsidy from the US government, meaning more of a subsidy from our taxes. That's what it all is. So about 9% we have to pay in, and then they get even more from the government. They're making money hand over foot every single month. What over 60% of the country is now in favor of is something called Medicare for All. Medicare is something that already exists. It's something that we all get when we turn 65. But what this would do is we would just, hey, we have the infrastructure, let's just expand it for everybody. And this would end up costing us half of what we're paying right now. So about 9% of our income goes before we get the subsidy for the Affordable Care Act. For Medicare for All, it would cost us about 4% of our income. So 9% or 4%, up to you. Which one would you rather spend? I prefer 4%, which is why I prefer Medicare for All. And it's something that would catch us up with the rest of the world. There's over 70 nations conscious around the world that have some sort of national healthcare program. America doesn't. So I'm really excited about this because overwhelming majority of the country wants it. The only people who don't want it are the healthcare CEOs, because they're the ones who are making tens and tens of millions of dollars. Just them in their salaries, their organizations are making billions, tens of billions of dollars. And we don't need them. Your health insurance company isn't providing the healthcare, the doctor is. So when people are like, I want the freedom of choice, you don't have the freedom of choice, because your freedom of choice is only with where your employer is choosing the health insurance and which doctors have chosen to be in that health insurance. Because I'm sure some of our viewers, I know I have had doctors who are no longer accepting that insurance. So there's no freedom of choice.
Okay.
With Medicare for All, you have that. You have the director-patient relationship.
And before I go on to the next topic, I just want to be clear on this one.
Yeah.
Are you saying that universal health care not realistic, affordable health care more practical, or what is the distinction between these two, and how do you specifically make that decision, or how did you kind of conclude on I'm this one and not this one?
Yeah. So took a lot of thought and trying to figure out and understand what the model is and really who's benefiting, right? It's always like, it always comes down to like, follow the money, you'll see where it goes. And when we have health insurance companies, people aren't benefiting. We're paying them billions of dollars a year just to be rejected and yet still have medical debt. That's no way to live a life. Healthcare should never be a for-profit model. And so I saw what was going on in other nations. In fact, with a personal story, I used to live in Scotland for a year and I had to go see a doctor. And when I went to check out, I pulled out my wallet and I was like, how much? And they're like, we don't charge for you here. And I'm like, what? I was like, dude, what? Like, you're leaving millions of dollars on the table. And then I did the research. And conscious, I don't know if you knew this, but after World War II, when England was just decimated from the Nazis, the new leaders came into power, and they were like, we haven't been elected to do patchwork legislation. We've been elected to do revolutionary things at a revolutionary time. And so that's how the United Kingdom's National Health Service was born. Similarly, in America right now, this primary that's coming up, the new candidates that will be elected are not being elected to do patchwork stuff, because yesterday's centrism brought today's fascism. We're going to be elected during a revolutionary time to do revolutionary things. So I believe the historic parallel now is time for America to get that Medicare for all.
Okay. I got you, TMF. I was gonna get to it, but I'm gonna jump right into it. I had it in there. TMF wants to know, and I think too, because we've been seeing a lot more conversation, a lot more legislation be proposed around reparations. So you get in this position. What is your position on reparations? Good, bad, pay for research. Yeah. What is your position?
I don't have a position right now. I'm in favor of it broadly, but I want to talk more with folks about this. How would that look like? What would it look like? Conscious, we were talking over the week, and I got a I forget what the word was, but I was not swatted, but there was a contingency known as ADOS who attacked me en masse about that. I'm in favor of reparations, and they were like, it should only go to American descendants of slaves. But I thought, well, Black people as a whole, doesn't matter if you're a descendant of a slave or not, Black people as a whole have been marginalized and persecuted because of what America has done. So how do we resolve that? How do we solve that? I'd love to.
I think that's a important question and distinction. I think within the reparations conversation, when it comes to the United States federal government, paying money for reparations, it's usually a conversation about the people that are descendants of slaves here in this land. I do think there is a conversation to talk about how the war on drugs, or talking about how the crime bill, or thinking about how redlining may have impacted other Black immigrant populations. However, I think that the conversation about reparations should be prioritized towards, descendants of American slaves, descendants of, how that has worked, especially thinking about how, King Cotton, and about how the structural violence towards Black American people have went to specifically. I will say that there are ways that I do disagree with the ADOS and FBA, people like that, but I do think there are arguments that can be made specifically about how Black people, uniquely have suffered in this country, and how their reparations have never been paid by the government ever. So I do I am sympathetic to what you're saying in terms of, but the American didn't fucked up everybody. You know what I'm saying? I think that is a conversation that might be adjacent to, but separate to, a conversation about reparations to Black Americans. And I see how I guess I understand how you pissed them off.
Yeah.
But I think that if this is going to become a much more tangible topic in the future, I do think that I hope this encourages you and anybody else that may be running for office to come up with a much more formal position and robust explanation, answer to thinking about and talking to reparations, as well as getting into the history of it. Because I do think that this should be a topic that all different candidates have a position on, and whether you agree with it or disagree with it, in my mind, you should agree with it. But regardless of what the position is, I feel like you should be able to give me, you know what I'm saying, some type of articulation for it. But I definitely appreciate you for, you know what I'm saying, having a conversation with it. And my audience know that, you know what I'm saying, that's where it is. Where's your question for him? Bree, if you have a question, you can ask that definitely. Second question though is for about police reform and police brutality.
Conscious, I wanted to just take a quick step back about reparations.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite phrases as a candidate is "I don't know." There's a lot of people out there who will say will try to say something about everything, and it's coming out their butt. One of the great things that I've done in my experience is bring experts to the table and learn from them, and then we can move forward together. Reparations, same thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not, yes, I have my parents are from Africa, my grandparents are from Africa, but I'm not Black. And I don't want to speak on behalf of Black people who have been very negatively impacted by America's terrible history of persecution. So I would love to bring people to the table and learn from them and see how we can move forward.
All right. I like that answer. My follow-up question then is this. Today is February 5th, 5th day of Black History Month. What or who has contributed the most to your political advocacy in terms of Black history?
How do you mean? What
Black figure or Black event, has contributed the most to the way that you move politically? I know that, Black history, we have a very rich, affluent, legacy of being able to have radical traditions, to civil rights movements, to having different grassroots organizers, so just curious, in honor of Black history, what former Black things, Black people have contributed to the way that you understand politics today?
MLK.
MLK
said, fight the three evils: racism, poverty, and war. And that's been very influential in my life as an anti-poverty lawyer. And I believe, he talked about we can solve poverty. And that was really integral in my understanding of, hey, yeah, we could actually solve poverty. This isn't something that's natural. This is man-made. And so, a lot of people know Martin Luther King for his civil rights work, but not as many people know him for his economic work, his economic justice. And that's been huge in my frustration with the system, and that, this is all solvable. We just need people who have the guts to get into Congress and undo all the harm. And I'm not going in to cure symptoms. I'm going in there to cure the root cause of it all. That's why we're taxing the billionaires, who are the ones who are dividing all of us and taking for themselves. We saw a report recently come out saying that over the course of 50 years, the 1% have taken what amounts to be $14,000 per working adult per year. Man. So I love asking the question, what would you do with an extra $14,000 a year? People will say, I'll pay off credit card debt. I'll pay off my car. I'll pay off medical debt. It's yeah, you could have, but they took all your money. So that's why that's going for a root cause. We're going for Medicare for all because, again, that's another root cause. We're going for campaign finance reform because the powers that be are contributing to all of the malaise that we have right now. So go to the root cause, let's fix it, and let's really get on the path to better things. And that's something that really originates from what Dr. King was talking about.
Hell yeah. Speaking of poverty and finance, what is your plan for helping us get this minimum wage raised?
Medicare for all. So this is beautiful. A lot of people think, oh, Medicare for all is just about healthcare, but it's actually more. You think about a lot of people are employed by small businesses, and small businesses are stuck between a rock and a hard place. They're like, we got to pay our employees for our employees' healthcare, but we also have to pay them a living wage, and we can't afford to do both. So with Medicare for all, now all of a sudden their costs have greatly decreased for healthcare, and now they can offset the cost. They can switch that bucket over to paying their employees a better wage. So you can't have both. You can't expect small business to be able to pay for health insurance and living wages. And I've spoken with a number of small business owners who are like, yeah, if I didn't have to pay for healthcare, I could pay my employees more. And that's what I love to see from Medicare for all.
All right.
That's going to be huge. That's going to be huge.
I thought about it. I thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? And I gotta just practice what I preach and push you on this. Wouldn't universal health care be better then?
Better? Did you freeze? Oh, sorry.
No. Like,
Oh,
wouldn't universal health care be better for small businesses and be better for raising minimum wage than affordable health care? I see
yes.
that Scotland got like free health care because in my mind it's a difference. In my mind, saying affordable health care is saying that again, it should be affordable to everybody. In my mind, saying universal health care is saying nah, it should be free. Everybody should be able to walk up in there and do exactly what you had in Scotland. Now put that wallet up. In my mind, affordable health care just mean, hey, you got $20. Everybody got 20. You got 30. It's affordable. So just still for my own, you know what I'm saying? Just homie to homie. Wouldn't universal health care be better than affordable health care? Or like what is, why are you going with this framing and not this framing?
No, yeah, I 100% agree. I'm not in favor of affordable healthcare. I think it was a step in the right direction. It brought in people with pre-existing conditions who were previously, restricted or prohibited from having health insurance. It did decrease the costs in a large way, but now we're seeing how Republicans are manipulating it, how they've cut away the subsidy and the the monstrous price increases that we've seen just this year alone. Millions of people are losing their health care. Tens of thousands are going to die.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what affordable healthcare is. It sounds nice, but it's not.
Yeah.
Medicare for all, or you can also call that universal healthcare, something that's paid for by our taxes, is the step in the right direction.
Medicare for all, universal health care, not affordable health care. That's me getting it all mixed up. And I appreciate you that for that clarity. You know what I'm saying? That was me missing words, thinking like, hold on, wait, what? But shout out to Ebens on Facebook, said, can you please ask them this question? What steps do you think we should take to address police brutality against communities of color and marginalized communities? Federal, state, local. Yeah. Shout out to you for answering that question too. For asking that question.
Yeah, I've actually been speaking with somebody who trains police officers, and I'm like, yeah, what's going on with this? Like, there's a lot of like police brutality happening. Like, what's going on? He's like, we don't have the funding to train our officers to include like mental health crisis responders. We don't have the funding to increase their training so that they're better attuned to what they need to be doing. So if you can get me the funding, I can train them better. I can bring in more community-minded folks, and that will really solve it. Like, he's like, I'm all in favor of this. We just don't have the funds. So I'd love to take that on.
Okay.
Oh, and then federally, abolish ICE.
I'm about to say, okay. So how does this involve with the how Virginia and Virginians see, their state local governments, cooperating with ICE? And I think you answered the question kind of,
And here's the thing, you can see, like, not only is ICE recruiting bad people, but their training program is also 47 days. And in case you're wondering why it's 47 days.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Do you want to know why it's 47?
That's crazy. It's because it's 47th president?
It's because of the 47th president. So we see, like with very little training, especially with bad people, we're seeing a lot of bad things happening. We really, like, I've seen, don't quote me on this, but I believe there are countries that have really long training cycles. Like, it takes years to become a police officer. So I'd love to see how we can incorporate more of things that work in other parts of the world into our country. We shouldn't be living on an island like, oh, everything we do is perfect. It's not. There's other countries doing great things. Let's learn from them and make things better here.
Okay. We gonna. I feel like people like ICE. Shit, I don't know if we can train our way out of that. They got. I feel like the way they going after people that like rate NASCAR and people that like UFC, and I seen the way they doing they targeted ads, and it's like, oh, y'all just going after certain people. So even if you train them, they white supremacists. You are, you know what I mean? So I think there's definitely, I feel like, a deeper conversation that we can have about the policing apparatus and about, you know what I'm saying, roots and symptoms and structures that I think that, could push the way that policing and violence happens. I'm not sure as a country if we're ready for that. But I think it's one that we need to have. especially with people being able to describe, ICE as being Gestapo or Nazis or slave catchers. We talked about getting at the root and not the symptom. I think that, that's drop that on you, let that marinate on your spirit a little bit. Think about that. You know what I mean? I feel like there's definitely some structural arguments that can be made that becomes very risky if you try to explain them away as being a symptom or a misnomer of the system and not an actual intelligent design of it. That being said, actually though, what is some of the unique things that ICE is doing in Virginia, or what is going on in Virginia specifically? That's not necessarily doing with your platform, just for people that's not knowing what's going on in Virginia. Want to know what's going on.
So we have part of our district. There's a place in our district called Hanover County, and this is a very red area. In fact, it's super white supremacist area as well. But Hanover was considering selling one. There was a billionaire who has this big warehouse, and he was considering selling that to ICE. There was a large uproar. Over 1,000 people came to the local Hanover County board meeting, and really forced the board to reject this sale. So that was great. And then the billionaire from Canada, he got pressured from Canadians as well. He ultimately said, I'm pulling the sale. So that was a huge win. That's just one win, though. There's going to be ICE is going to be trying in different ways to get into different places in Virginia. They're trying to get into Stafford, Virginia, just north of our district. But what we've seen from our governor is that she's, breaking the relationships between the police and ICE, which is a great step in the right direction. So that's very important. It's really important because we also just had a blue wave in Virginia. Our governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general all became Democrats after Republicans for 4 years. So this means that Trump is going to have a renewed focus on Virginia, and he's going to really, send ICE down into our state. So it was great to see that over 1,000 people came together for this moment. We've seen thousands, tens of thousands of people come out for No Kings, for regular protests throughout the week. People are regularly showing up. So this is a really key community that's being built and harnessed for what's about to come from what we expect to come from the federal government.
All right. Shit. If they let's say you win, and there's a piece of policy that comes across your desk that says that we're going to impeach Trump. Do you vote yes on that, or you vote no on that? What's your stance on the impeachment of Trump, especially when it comes to all the various ways that he has broken the law and fucked up the Constitution? And where you stand on that? I feel like a lot of us people out in the public is just wondering, like, man, what y'all playing nice, y'all playing respectability politics, and you gotta just do business as usual, or do y'all recognize that he ain't doing business as usual? Where are you at?
Impeach Trump is a great start. Go after Trump, go after the entire administration, and convict in the Senate. Of course, the Senate and the House have different roles in all of this. But yeah, I think it's a great start. Don't stop with only Trump. You got to go after all of them.
Hell yeah. Do you think Congress has a role in reinstating Roe v. Wade?
Yes. So Roe v. Wade was a Supreme Court decision, so it's more about codifying it into law. And in Virginia, we're putting it through a constitutional amendment to protect it in Virginia. And it's really important in Virginia because Virginia is like a southern state, and it would be the only southern state that has protections for abortion. But yeah, I would love to actually move forward on this on a federal level. This is another thing that really upsets me and irritates me about the Democrats. The Democrats always dangle that as a carrot on a stick for fundraising, but then they actually never really do anything about it. So it's just, let's just do it. I mean, I know Democrats haven't had that much time in the majority, but when this House flips, when the Senate flips, when the president flips in 2028, we have to get everything as much as possible done on day one, just like Trump did when he got reelected. He signed so many executive orders on the first day. We have to be ready with a whole bunch of bills by the end of that first week for the president to sign.
Agreed. I think one thing that Trump's presidency showing, and one thing that's around Mondami's first day being mayor showed, is that all of the bureaucracy, we gotta wait, we gotta be patient, all that shit, it was always cap. It was always a lie. Donald Trump showed us on day one that he got into office that he was able to pass a whole bunch of executive orders and already able to create a new norm within 2 or 3 months of him being in office. He was able to create new norms. In fact, we so used to him making catastrophic decisions every day, we no longer worry about a norm. And to me, all that illustrates is that these Democrats, all Democrats, no matter how left moderate you claim to be, no matter, you better keep this in mind because all of us is watching. If you tell us that we gotta wait, and we see that the people in New York, they have to wait to make sure their kids was getting health care and get their kids was getting school and food, and Donald Trump made sure the conservatives and the January 6th shit, we ain't trying to wait, man. We definitely ain't trying to wait it out. My second question though, man, I'm about to ask random question now, like there's a whole bunch of like popcorn shit. What's your stance on like America being the leader of global climate change? Like, what is your stance on America being one of the highest producers of CO2 emissions and being one of the global leaders in how we fuck up the global South? What do you think your position in Congress, and what do you think America should be doing in terms of climate change and in terms of reducing CO2 emissions to try to reverse what we got going on right now, even though people say we passed the point of return?
Yeah, I believe, hey, every day we wake up, we have a chance. And I believe in climate change. I believe the scientists. I think we're at a climate catastrophe at this point. But every day we wake up is a time to change things for the better. And I would love to see the Green New Deal resurface and get that through. We had elements of it, happening. We had renewable energy projects that were happening off of the coast of Virginia. We had wind farms being created out there that Trump pulled the plug on. So I would love to refund those programs and really get that going. Get more solar out there. It's not just like a one size fits all. We're going to need a whole diverse way of getting to it. And I would love to lead on that or support the others in Congress who are leading on that so that we can give our kids a better future. One of the things that we're seeing pollute our air is data centers. Virginia is the data center capital of the world. We have over 600 data centers in Virginia.
I know that.
It's nasty, and there's 600 more coming. So what
Virginia, y'all water and climate finna be crazy.
So whoever's watching from Virginia, you probably have seen your energy costs go up astronomically this year, and you may even just be trying to use less energy, but that's not helping at all. It's because of these data centers. The data centers are using the energy, and then the costs are coming off onto the customers. And that's on us as residents, not the actual customers. And here's the thing, who's using all the data centers? People from all over the world. So we are paying for everybody else's usage of these data centers. It ain't right. And we're hoping that the state assembly, which is meeting right now in Richmond, that they do something about it to undo this harm that is happening to energy consumers. On a federal level, I support what Senator Bernie Sanders has said about having a moratorium on data centers. One of the things that people may not realize with data centers is that they require 24/7 generators so that there's never any latency. If the power ever goes out, they need to have that backup ready to go. Because, for example, you have self-driving cars out there that are being piloted or whatever. They're connected to these data centers. If that data center goes, self-driving car is gone. It's not just about text on video. It's about a lot more things that are happening right now. So part of that generator is it's a diesel generator. A diesel generator running all the time. It's not good for your neighborhood.
Agreed. Definitely not good for your neighborhood, not good for the environment real large, and not good for your pockets, man. I think Ebens is, and I'm sorry, Ebens, if I'm saying your name wrong, but I believe Ebens is a Virginian. They want to know, do you think the minimum wage should be increased in Virginia? And what about the tip minimum wage? If yes, what rate? And he asked my federal too, but I'm assuming because they're asking some very pointed questions about Virginia. Yeah.
Oh, can you leave that up just so I don't forget?
Hell yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Evans. I hope you are Virginian and you're following along on the campaign. I'm not following state politics right now because I'm just so federally focused right now. But I believe I heard that there was legislation in Virginia to increase the minimum wage. And I just don't know where it's at. The tipped minimum wage, yeah, we gotta do away with tips, man. Pay them their fair wages. There's something that MIT has made called a living wage calculator, and what you can just Google MIT living wage calculator, and you can actually see in your region or your zip code what the living wage is for a family of one, two, three, four, whatever. And I believe that the minimum, like the baseline for a state, should be whatever that minimum is according to that living wage calculator. Because this country's huge. The country is
Let
massive.
me let me let me help you out real fast though, cause I know what Ebens, you know what I'm saying, won't answer, and I ain't letting you politician out of this one. So
Don't
that's
make
what
me.
it is,
Don't,
man. That's
yeah,
what it
hold me
is.
to it.
Salam. Peep game. As of January 1st, 2026, the minimum wage in Virginia is $12.77 per hour. The rate increased from 1241 to 720 to 1277 in 2025. Now, to your point, there's been
Mhm.
recent legislation that's trying to move the minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2028. Now,
Ooh.
to put that in context and question with Evans, what do you think the rate should be?
Hmm. Yeah, I think 15 by 28 is too low.
I'm fucking with it. 15. So what do you think it should be? I feel like 15. I agree. I think if the national level, we think it should be like 20 some dollars an hour based off of what it means to have affordable cost of living, being able to pay your rent, also pay your bills, also feed yourself. What you think though?
I would say, listen, I'm going to look up at the living wage calculator for my county. Good God, a living minimum wage should be, well, a living wage would be with one child, $40 an hour. Holy mackerel.
Shit. Sound
Well,
about
okay.
right, man. I'm about to
Yeah,
say shit.
that's
Sound about
crazy.
right, bro.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Again, we go back to the macro. Medicare for all would help offset the cost from businesses to pay their employees more. It would take away the deductibles, the premiums, the co-pays, the cost for prescriptions from families as well. So now all of a sudden their income is freed up from a lot of these payments. And so that the money has a little bit more power. The money has a little bit more leverage when all of those other costs are taken away. Um, and with affordable childcare, if not universal pre-K, that also helps give more power to their dollar too. So there's going to be a lot of different ways to give more power to their dollars. I understand also why they have to do $15 by 28, so it gives businesses time to adjust. But again, also knowing $15 is already going to be too low right now. It's going to be too
Yeah.
low in 2 years.
Hell yeah. Man, the way you said it made me think about I done came across one of these dudes on Instagram. I got to think of little bro name, man. He be spitting fire. He started talking about Vladimir Lenin. And it made me realize like I never went down the rabbit hole of Vladimir Lenin. I learned more about Karl Marx. I know that Vladimir Lenin was able to forward Marxism in different ways. I ain't gonna put you on the spot and ask you about none of that, but it's my ADHD coming out. Like, damn, when you said what you said, maybe think about that. I don't know, but my motto was always education is elevation. So I'm curious about what's your stance, what's your policies you propose for defending higher education and how an assault has been on it, as well as helping the funding for education, especially when it comes to things like Black history, gender affirming things, things about equity, DEI. We know that there's been an assault on education when it comes to those various things. What does Salaam sit on those? And if you was to get in Congress, what would you propose? That Congress does to make sure that Americans are able to have access to higher education.
Yeah, one of the things we should be following is what other nations do with subsidizing, if not entirely making it free for higher education. How are they able to do it and we're not? And we're the richest, wealthiest nation in the history of modern history, right? So there's something we got to do about that, but not just for higher education, but also for the trades as well. Um, College may not be as necessary in the future, but we'll always need plumbers and electricians and people to make things. How do we make sure we incentivize them and their career paths and their education paths as well? College isn't something that I'm thinking about forcing my two boys on. They could be good with their hands, and that's fine. Go do something out there. But does that mean just because you're not going to college, you need to get debt? So what can we do? And really, I have a lot of debt from law school. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Why do we not have more debt forgiveness available? A debt forgiveness would be a great economic boost because I'm no longer having to pay what little money I have towards something that's never going to go away. But now I can invest that money into community, into small businesses around my area, into a 401k so that the government doesn't need to provide me as much when I retire, if I ever do get to retire. But I would love to see the Department of Education fully funded. We've seen Trump and his administration gut it and cut it and try and attempt to remove it entirely.
Shout out to you, Pat. Pat, hey, while you give this response, can you do two things? Can you listen? Can you read the question right here for my people that's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts? Also, y'all know if y'all don't never get to catch one of these live streams, you always able to catch it on Spotify and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts at. While you answering this question though, can you tell us who you're running up against and how you think they have messed up Virginia and how you gonna make your district? How you think they mess your district up and what you're gonna do to make the district better?
Perfect. So Representative Rob Whitman, and I'm running in the 1st District of Virginia.
What cities is that? What cities, counties is that?
Oh, bro, we've got Henrico County, Midlothian, Chesterfield County, King William, New Kent, historic triangle of Jamestown, Williamsburg, York, Pocassin, Tappahannock, Lancaster, Gloucester, and I apologize if I missed any, but it's about a dozen. So it goes
damn, that's big. It seems like that's a lot.
It's a greater Richmond area into the Chesapeake Bay. So beautiful. But what we were talking about, my ADHD is now education. So what Representative Rob Whitman has done is he's voted for school vouchers. He's in support of that. He's in support of defunding public education. And it's a white supremacist thing. We all know that.
Hell yeah. Greg Abbott doing the same thing in Texas.
He's all about that. And I'm against that. So yeah, I want to fully fund the Department of Education. I want better funding for higher education, for the trades. I want to do something about debt forgiveness. I know, God bless him, Biden tried, but he just caved too much when it came to debt forgiveness, and we've got to go all the way. What we've learned last year is that if the government wanted to, it would. So let's do it.
Yeah, it would. Hell yeah. So this Whitmore guy, does he collaborate with ICE? Does he do like what is he about? Is he a Republican? I'm assuming
he's a Republican. He's a MAGA Republican. He votes with Trump all the time. He's in support of ICE. He's funding them more and more and more. He hasn't said a thing about the horrors of kidnapping children, of shooting women in the face, of killing people out on the streets, of detaining hundreds of children. It's deporting them to the wrong countries. He's all in favor of that. And that's why, again, I'm not. I don't believe that such an agency can be reformed. Due process is one of the things that makes America great. Being able to go through a court system. As a lawyer, I love due process. ICE is trampling on that. ICE is kidnapping kids. They're shooting women in the face. They're killing folks on the streets. So many people are dying in their custody. This isn't something you can reform. This is something you have to abolish. And understand also, ICE is barely like 20 years old. This is something that started post 9/11 as a result of the Patriot Act during a time of insanity. And the Patriot Act itself was a terrible act. And so anything that's born of that needs to be given a second look. ICE getting abolished is the right move. We can reassign those responsibilities through the Department of Homeland Security and have comprehensive immigration reform so that we have immigration that meets the needs of the time.
Okay. And I got a less serious question before I end it with a serious, but a less serious one. What's the best sports teams out of Virginia and why?
The best sports team?
What's the best sports team out of Virginia and why? It can be college, it can be professional, but you got to pick one and you got to tell us why it's the best sports team.
Richmond Flying Squirrels.
What the hell? What the helly? What? What is that?
It's a minor league baseball team. And you go to there and it's affordable. The snacks are affordable. You're not going to have to go into debt just to take your kids to a ball game. There's plenty of seats available too in the general audience, and it's a great time. It's easy to get in. The parking lot is great. It's easy to get out. They have great fireworks. I've had wonderful times with my family and friends there, and without breaking the bank. And I love that.
Yeah, man. This gonna be my final question. I'll make it intersectional. We know that down south, some of the lowest life expectancy rates down below the Mason-Dixon line in Virginia is there, whether people recognize it or not. I ain't saying it's a southern state, but damn, it's below it. Black trans women have some of the lowest life expectancies in our country. And we know that a lot of MACA has been able to muster up a bunch of their support by attacking trans women. And we know that Black trans women has taken on to bear that brunt. As Congress, what would you propose in order for us to be able to protect Black trans women better, as well as making sure that a lot of our trans youth, may they be Black, white, Mexican, whatever, that they're able to, live and access their adult lives, especially seeing that there has been so many anti-LGBTQ laws that's been proposed over the past like 2 years. I think the last time I looked it up, it was like over 800 nationwide. So, what would you do?
Yeah. First off, trans rights are human rights. They're people. They're deserving of dignity and everything and love. Medicare for all would be helpful for them to get the care they need. But also, one of my platform things from the anti-poverty space is that I know that poverty impacts not only Black and brown people more than white people, but it also disproportionately impacts people within LGBTQ. And one of the issues we see with regards to anti-discriminatory laws when it comes to the workplace is that sometimes people who are discriminated against, maybe they don't get the job, maybe they're fired because of their LGBTQ connection. It's hard for them to prove that. And to prove that costs thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars of hiring a lawyer and all the time it takes to go through court. And if you're applying for a job or if you need a job, that means you probably don't have the money to do that. So what I want to do, as well as providing those protections, is also to look at the safety net that we have. And our safety net is garbage conscious. Like, I am an expert in our safety net. Doesn't mean I'm a cheerleader for it. But there's so many different programs that have all different eligibility formulas. And when you're in poverty, you need all of them. But because you may be making too much or too little or too much, or you might not be able to get housing assistance when that's a basic need. So what I would love to do, especially with keeping in mind all the marginalized communities, how do we consolidate the welfare programs? How do we get rid of all the hoops you have to jump through when you're at a point of crisis in your life? So you can get your basic needs met. You can get food on the table. You can feed your kids. You can have a roof over your head without having to spend a whole week applying for these programs. So that's really top of mind for me as well. How do we consolidate our welfare programs into a guaranteed income and really help people meet their basic needs while they look for their next opportunity? I feel like poverty is traumatic. And when you're going through life as a marginalized person, it's doubly traumatic. That stress causes lower life expectancy, it causes chronic illnesses. So we really need to be looking out for each other. And like, that kind of macro mindset is how I'm looking at it.
My final question for real this time. We just seen about 1 million pages dropped from the Epstein files. You got people like me that's thinking that there's a bunch of idealistic consequences behind the Epstein files, but nothing that's really in the material reality. What do you propose if you win, if you get into Congress? What role does Congress have in making sure that the victims of the Epstein files, victims of Epstein's human trafficking, they see justice? Like, what realistically can Congress do? What do you propose? And like, yeah, that's how we're gonna end this. We're gonna end this talking about the thing that everybody talking about on the internet right now. To end it for your answer, Lithuania and the UK so far has been the only nation states that's taken any recourse or made any type of systemic responses to what has happened and what's been dropped in the Epstein files. So, as candidate of congressional district, whatever you is in Virginia, what you gonna do? What do you propose?
Wait, can you bring me up to speed? What did Lithuania and UK do?
Lithuania opened up an investigation of the politician that was mentioned, and the UK opened up a probe on the person that was mentioned. They also resigned as well. So we got two open investigations, two open criminal investigations that's happening in two different states. Two different countries. That is not where the Epstein files dropped. The Epstein files dropped here in the United States of America on United States American soil, and what we see is ain't nobody. No,
Yep.
we ain't had the only person sitting in jail for this is a woman. And you know
Mm-hmm.
the people that benefit the most of it? Creepy old white man.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
All that to say, Salaam. What you gonna do? What you gonna propose, man? You gonna get up in there? You gonna take these pedophiles, or we gonna make sure? What you gonna do, Salaam? We desperate out here, man.
Yeah, no, conscious. Ever since these past few weeks of seeing these Epstein files, and this last batch has just been horrific, with pictures, videos of them talking about joyously eating babies. It makes me, I can't even say it. I want to gag. But we got to throw every single book at them. I really am in favor of what Representatives Khanna and Massey are doing, how they're leading the charge of wanting to, make justice happen in this country. And I am in favor of all of that. I want to see arrest warrants go out. If you are in the files, there should be arrest warrants, and you should be in prison as you wait for your day in court, because you're all essentially a flight risk. You're all very wealthy. You could very easily leave this country and go to some haven. But hey, you should be in detention. You should be in custody, awaiting your trial. And I would love to see the next president have an attorney general who will use the full weight and the force of the Department of Justice to go after these people, and do justice. Not just because that's the right thing to do, but also the whole world is watching, and the whole world is waiting to see what America will do, not just with the Epstein files, but also with the Trump administration, with all the ICE agents. I mean, we have to go to Nuremberg levels to really root out all of the disgust, the injustices, the cruelty that has happened on our soil. And conscious, I guess the thing that frightens me is that if we don't, then the hammer of karma will fall on this country, and it will just destroy us, and we will deserve it.
Hell yeah. Like we already there. We're here at the end of the road. It's the beginning of the road beyond time.
Conscious,
man.
I don't want to end on a lull note like that. I want people to understand that this is the moment where we can take our country for ourselves, not for the billionaires, not for the donor class, not for the corporations, not for foreign interests, not for Israel, not for anything else, but for the people. You have candidates just like me running in your district. Please, we beg of you as a whole, we need your support, whether it's $10 or a contribution that's recurring every single month, because I can tell you we are not getting the billionaires. We're not getting the corporate dollars. And there's still a gap in our campaigns that we need to fill so we can hire staff, so we can knock on the right doors, so we can get our literature out. If you can't donate money, donate your time. Right now, we are getting petitions signed so that we can get onto the ballot. And once we can get on the ballot, then we can vote for us. And when we win, then we get much more support leading into the November election. So if all of these things, if all of these things that you're seeing play out right now disgust you, then understand it's because the system has been designed by those people to be this way. And we have an opportunity right now. It's a revolutionary time for us to do revolutionary things. And if you're wondering who out there is going to do it, it ain't them. It's us. We are the ones we've been waiting for. So we need you to join on. And if you can't find anybody else, then join me. You can go to salamforva.com. Check us out. Check out our volunteer forum and join us. You can do stuff in district, outside of district. We'll find a role for you. And we'll be happy to have you join our team.
Yes, man. I appreciate you definitely. I got two things I want to say to y'all before we get up out of here. The first is that we talk a lot about having politicians compromise and how we have a conflict of interest when it comes to them being funded by political PACs and them being funded by corporations. And then a lot of us look with skepticism like, hold on, is you asking for some money? I think there is a tension but behind how we expect for politicians to always already be backed by the people. And then there's a tension between how we broke and how they need our funding in order to be able to win campaigns. The second thing is this weekend, Salaam and I was able to have a conversation about campaign finance and about how campaign finance is bad for our elections. Now, this the part that we ain't talk about, but the part that I'm really feeling this on my mind and heart right now is that when the Supreme Court and Congress decided that corporations were people and money was speech, that made it where our speech could never weigh with the money they have, which is seen as their speech. So when it comes to thinking about how we get the best candidates and how we people that represent us, we have to recognize the conflict of interest that campaign finance has to make it where they get all the dark money in. All of y'all worried about how content creators are paid. That same energy of feeling like, well, I don't know if this content creator has an ulterior motive to lie to me because I don't know who's paying them. That should apply way more to politicians. You see what I'm saying? Probably everybody. But I think the energy, you know what I'm saying, should be like, hey, what the fuck going on with that? The meta thing that goes with all this is that a lot of us think that we can Bob the Builder a politician during the general election. A lot of us believe that we can push and pull way more than we think we really can during that general election. It's the primary. This is when you post to pop your shit with them. This is when you post to ask them questions, when you post to debate them and get them to take on a policy or a position that you want them to in order to get your support. This is what democracy is supposed to stand for. A lot of y'all are falling into parasocial relationships with different politicians, and it's getting in your way of being real, and it's getting in your way of being objective and thinking about the implications of politics and policy. And because you like the personality, you're not able to get into the politics and the policy. Making it stay plain and simple. If you got a problem with the way these politicians pump fake us and pimp on us when it comes to general elections, make sure during the primary, we picking the best candidate possible that represent us, what we want and what we need. If you think they should have a policy around ICE or around reparations or around higher education, this is the time to push their ass. If you right now are feeling like you're in nostalgia, or you feel like you're in deja vu, or you feeling like this is saying like, this reminds me of 2024, take that out of your head. Take all of your different extrapolations and all of your different, ways you want to compare the primary elections on the local level to a general election that's a presidential election on the federal level. There's a lot of bad analogies and bad metaphors that's being made, and I think that it's distancing us from being critical thinkers and being contextualizing what's happening right now. Yes, a lot of us are still trying to recover from how we was hoodwinked and bamboozled by this last election. Yes, a lot of us are still even ignored that some of y'all thought that if we had won the election that you would be at brunch right now. Me being one of those. With that being said, education is elevation. And do not beat your chest talking about protecting or saving democracy and you get mad and get your tidy whities in the bunch and get your panties in the wall when you start hearing people criticizing politicians and using their tools of democracy. And even if you commando on and you ain't got no drawers on, goddamn, don't get your shit twisted up. Don't get nothing caught up in there, goddamn, because you're deciding that you want to have this American exceptionalist understanding of democracy. Democracy for me and not for thee, head ass. Don't be like that. Don't be like that, man. Education is elevation. Research over me search. I know I've been trying to get more active with y'all, especially on my Substack. If you are interested in having much more in-depth conversations, join the Substack community. If you tired of the algorithm being all in the videos, you tired of the algorithm, suppressing your favorite candidate, suppressing your favorite politician, suppressing your favorite content creator, come on to Substack, like Death Row. Come on, though.
Spontaneous percussion.